Hello, welcome to our shir in Basi Legani. We're learning the Maamar. Can you turn on? Okay, we're learning the Maamar of the Rebbe with some of the source material that he brings, um, and from the Rebbe's Maamar from Tafshin Chaf Hey, it was 1965, um, and so far we've gone through um, different ideas which the Rebbe integrates into explaining the 15th chapter of the previous Rebbe's Mimer. Um, we've gone through an idea from the Baal Shem Tov about the Tzimtzum, why it was necessary, and then we brought an idea from the Magid about how that actually it's not only hiding, it's also connecting, that it was necessary for us to have to be um, two halves. The two silver trumpets would be thinking of us, the Jewish people, and Hashem as two halves of a relationship. Um, so the point of the Tzimtzum is to connect, and then we discussed something from the Alter Rebbe, in which we said that the Ma'or, the source of light, the Tzimtzum did not impact the source at all. The source is revealed just as it always was. Okay, so now we're going to bring today something from the Mittler Rebbe. And first, I want to go back into the Frierdiker Rebbe's Mimer, and this is the place we are at right now, which I've highlighted. And he begins the Ha'inyan Bezeh. So the idea here is Dehine Isa ba'avodas hakodesh. I don't know who the author of Avodas HaKodesh is. It's a early Kabbalistic work. Ha'ein Sof Baruch Hu Kashem sheyesh lo koyach bebilti bal gvul kimei kein yesh lo koyach bigvul. That Hashem, the Infinite One, just like he has infinite powers that are unlimited in the unlimited realms. He also has powers within limitation. He also has the power to be finite. Just like Hashem can be infinite, he can also be finite. Which is a very radical statement, because we tend to think of God only as unlimited. But he could also be limited when he chooses to be. De'im Taimar. And why is this statement? What's the basis of this statement? And this is still in the Sefer Avodas HaKodesh. De'im Taimar sheyesh lo koyach bebilti val gvul ve'ein lo koyach begvul. If you were to say that he has infinite powers, but he has no finite. He's infinite, but he's not finite. Hare ato mechaser shleimusai. Then you would be detracting from his perfection, from his completeness. The Ein Sof hu shleimusa dekoilo, and God is the ultimate perfection of everything. So that is the quote from Avodas HaKodesh. And basically the idea is that you can't say God's only present in the infinite. God is present in the finite, just the same. And there's okay. So now the Frierdiker Rebbe is going to try to give his explanation of this. Uperush, what this means is the shleimus ha'ein sof, that the perfection or completeness or totality or wholeness of God, who koilel bligvul ugvul, it is inclusive of both the infinite and the finite. The lifnei hatzimtzum, and prior to the tzimtzum, haya gilui ha'oir ein sof ha'bligvul, what was being revealed was God's infinite light. And his finite powers or lights were concealed. And this is the idea that is said, this I believe he's talking here about in Eitz Chaim, in Arizal's Kabbalah's Sefer. There was one pure, indivisible, lofty light. Shehu oir ein sefa bligvul. This was the infinite, unlimitable light. Memale kol mokom hamatzias, that filled the whole space of reality. Shahaya nirgash rak bechinas ha'ein sefa bligvul. Meaning that the only thing that could be perceived was the infinite light of God. Whereas the finite power of God, shehu bechinas hametzias v'hayeshus, which would be things, which would be things like identity and independent identities and egos, loy haya nirgash klal, that could not be perceived at all. The al yedei tzimtzum, and what happened? This was prior to the tzimtzum. What happened through the tzimtzum? Hinenis aleim ha'oir ein sof. What happened is the infinite light became concealed. Umasha nirgash b'pshitus, and then what became perceived in an obvious way. Hu b'chinas hayeshus v'ametzius, is the aspects of ego and identity. It's independent existences of different things in the world. V'oir ein sof harei einoi nirgash, whereas the infinite light was not perceived. Hagam es hashamayim v'ha'aretz ani mole, that even though God fills the heavens and the earth, v'hatzimtzum hu rak legabeinu, and this tzimtzum impacted only us, is only with regard to us down here. Aval legabe yisborech harei hatzimtzum einoi mastir klal. But when it comes to God Himself, this barrier, this screen, it's like a one-way glass. I don't know if I remember when in one we had a shul when I lived in Randolph, New Jersey. Our neighbors, the Tilsons, had in their basement, there was a shul in their basement, and the way they did the mechitza was they had one-way glass, where if you're on the men's side, you saw your reflection. If on the women's side, you saw right through. So it's basically this idea that it's this tzimtzum is a one-way screen. It is only making it so that we can, down here, created beings can't see the infinite light. But it doesn't mean that God is blocked from us. God shines, his infinite light shines after the tzimtzum just the same as before the tzimtzum. Ukemaimer, like the statement, Atahu koidem shenivra ha'olam, which we say in our prayers in early before we start davening, we say, "You are He before the world was created. The Atahu le'achar shenivra ha'olam, and you are He after the world was created." The implication is you're the same He. There's no difference. B'hashva gemura, with total equality. It made no difference to God. God isn't made bigger or smaller by the fact that there's been this creation of a world. And the ein tzimtzum mastir klal. And this contraction, this tzimtzum, did not conceal anything at all. Okay, so it's at this point that I want to now go and take a look at the ideas from the Mittler Rebbe. And we're going to go. Oh, I can't do it here. I have to go to the other screen. So this is from a sefer called Shar Yichud of the Mittler Rebbe. At first glance, it does not appear to be understood. Masha Omar, what it says, Ani Havaya Loi Shanisi. I, God, have not changed. This is talking about the level of Malchus of the Infinite One himself, which is prior to the Tzimtzum. So, Hare im bevechinas Malchus de Asiya yesh boy shinui. Now, if change does happen on the lower level, a much lower level of Malchus of the lowest world of Asiya, if there is a shinui, a change, for example, happened in, what do we say, that originally God wanted to create the world with the attribute of justice, and he saw that people wouldn't be able to, it just wouldn't last, and so he joined with it the attribute of mercy. Okay, so there was a change, bein din lechesed, from judgment to mercy, to kindness. So if you have such a change down here, shehu bechinas hispailus, which is like usually hispailus is translated as excitement, but something has been affected here. Muchrach shegam b'malchus de ein soif yesh shinui zeh. So if there's such a change down here, it's necessary that there has to be such a change up there too. Me'achar she'omar ani hu, from the fact that God says, I am He. I'm the same He. Up there is down here, as has been previously mentioned. V'kein malchus kol olamim, and your malchus is the same Malchus throughout all the worlds. B'shave mamish, the total equality. Meaning, Dahainu ka'asher oile birtzoinei haposhut, that when it arises in his pure, indivisible will, shebe'atzmus mamish, in God's very essence, liyos chofetz chesed, that he should desire kindness. That's how the world ended up getting created, because God wanted to be kind. Hare chofetz chesed ha'atzmi hazeh, this is essence wanting kindness, yoired ad lamata mamish, would descended down very low, b'chafetz chesed de malchus de asiya, all the way down to the malchus in the lowest world of asiya, v'kein lehepech, and so too in the reverse sense, backwards, kifi hamuvan mikol anal, as is understood from everything we've said till now. This, by the way, is chapter 9 in the Mittler Rebbe's Sefer. It's a very long Sefer. So he's mentioned other things before, which we haven't gone into here. V'gam harei b'kol yoy mechadesh ma'aseh bereshis, and so too every single day he is renewing the work of creation, lamata mata, down here below. Shehu bekadmin, through what came first. Ubechuchmasa de bereshis bara. This applies on the highest levels too. That with the loftiest level of chachma, with which he created the worlds, all the way to the highest levels in God's very essence. In Cain, yesh bechinas chidush gam ba'atzmus eir ein sof. So if there is a renewal happening down here, that renewal has to be happening up there too. Ve'eich omar ani lo shanisi klal. So if that's the case, how can we say I've not changed at all? V'kein anu oimrim, and so to what we say, which we mentioned earlier, atahu koidem shenivra oilam chulu, that you are he before the world was created, and you are he after the world was created. It's the same. It's exactly the same without any change. Seems there was a big change. It's not only that the world was created, but you chose to create it. And before that, you hadn't chose to create it. So that was a change in you too. And so too, koidim she'etzil, even before he emanated. It's not just created, but also emanated on all the levels. Ukayadua, and as is known. As an analogy from a person down here. So just, okay, just show you where we are. As an analogy from man down here, he has a change in his essential will, when he changes his mind from being severe and judgmental to judging people favorably, from being kind. As is known. And so then how do we say such a thing? When we want to pray for something, we ask, may it be the will from you. Meaning, what do we mean? Ratzon Chadash, that God we want you to change we want you to have a change of will, a new will. Sheyishapech haratzon shel din lechesed, that your will of having to, that when you want judgment, we want you to switch it to kindness. And we do see many changes every day and every hour. With everything what Hashem wants, also He did. Tamid, constantly. B'shamayim u'v'aretz, in the heavens and the earth. So this is the question the Mittler Rebbe asks. If you guys understand the question, you got any questions about this question? Moshe?
No.
No? Okay. Makes sense?
Yep.
Good question?
Yeah, I don't think it is.
Okay. Here's the answer. The hatirutz l'kol zeh hu inyan hatzimtzum. The answer is the tzimtzum. Kayadua de'im hayo hashefa derech ila v'olul. As it's known that if we were to have something called shefa, which is flow, which happens by way of cause and effect. You tip the pitcher over, and it pours the can over, and it pours the soda, the seltzer, into your cup, right? So that's your cause is tipping the can over, and seltzer flowed into the cup, and now has there a change in the amount of seltzer in the can?
No.
Yeah. Okay. So that in that case, in that situation, it would be what our argument would have been correct, that whatever, if there's going to be some more seltzer in my cup, there has to be less in the can. It's the law of conservation of seltzer. Aval me'achar she'amshacha b'vchinas oyer v'ziv levad, but since what comes is not in a way of flow, but it rather comes in a way of light and radiance, v'gam hu al yedei tzimtzum, and how does it come? Through tzimtzum, not in a way of ila v'olul, of cause and effect. Al kain ein be'atzmus elokus shum shinui klal. Therefore, in God's essence, there is no change whatsoever. Gam be'malchus de asiya, even in malchus of asiya. V'kachu adroim hamaylos, and so too on all the way up to the highest levels. The acher tzimtzum yesh bechinas shinui. It's only after the tzimtzum that there is a change. So why is there? So what's the change then? V'zeu mitzad hamekablim levad, and it's not a change in the light. The change is in the recipients only. So this is very radical. What the Mittler Rebbe is bringing out here is something we didn't say yet. So previously we were saying, don't understand Tzimtzum Kipshutai. There's two aspects to that. It's not that God pulled himself out, that the Moir, the source, is no longer present in this place of universe. He's here. Oh, And not only that, he's revealed. He, the source, is revealed. It's not only that one, he didn't pull himself out. Two, the revelation is also here. But there is illumination that comes from him. So you might think he pulled out his illumination. Oh, here the Mittler Rebbe is saying, no, even the illumination is here. The only thing is that we can't tune in. It's not about anything changing from God's perspective. It's us. We were made in such a way that we don't have the receivers, like a radio. We can't tune into the frequency. So, okay, where did I leave off? Yeah, okay. Ubir, let me move up a little bit. Ubir inyan hahefresh bein oir l'shefa, and explaining the difference between light and flow. Yedua lokol, that everybody knows. The amnon.
I'm gonna get chicken, but I still have to make the rice. Do you want rice or French fries today? I can make either.
Whichever's quicker.
Quicker.
Whichever's quicker.
I'm gonna serve the chicken.
Okay.
You do okay. The amnon gam bechinas oir hutzrach liyos al yedei tzimtzum. Even with light, the light had to happen through the tzimtzum. V'al kein tzarich kol adam leida inyan hatzimtzum u'lizboinen boy, and therefore everybody needs to know about this tzimtzum and to think about it. B'kol oilam lefi erkoi, in a relative sense, for each world on its own level. Ki hu ha'ikr b'klal hayichud ha'eloki, because that is the fundamental idea in the godly unity, be'ein shinui legabe ha'atzmos, of there not being a change from the perspective of God's essence. Ukemoi kamei kachashecha ka'oiro, and just as for him, like darkness is like light, it's the same, it's all the same. Ruchnius v'gashmius, spirituality, physicality, shavin, they're all equal. Ad atzilus v'asiya shavin, all the way to atzilus and all the way down to asiya, it's all the same, kayadu. Hagam shezehu legabe bechinas hamakif bilvad, and even though this is something which happens on an encompassing level only, hanikra soivev kol almin, which is called encompassing all worlds. In other words, not in a makif, we might say superficial, but that's not in the bad context. It means transcendent, maybe is maybe the better word. Bichlal uprat, in a general sense and in a specific sense, shalamaylo me hadargo, I don't know what's supposed to be a hey here. Mihadroga, that transcends categorization of light. Shebevechinas mamala kololmin. Okay, so when you have mamala kololmin, which is the permeating light, in in the way that a soul is in a body, or that we have vitality in our body. You say the power of sight is in your eye, the power of walking's in your feet, and so on. So there's that's specific to each organ, a kind of vitality. So the soivev or makiv is not specific to an organ. It transcends having coming in a permeating way into an organ, and this would represent maybe such soul powers as we have as delight and willpower. They're not specific to an organ. It's not the same as our thoughts, our intellect, chokhmah, bina, and das. Those are specific to our brain, but delight and will are the person as a whole. Those are transcendent powers. Within the spheres, that represents the spheres of Keser, and it's different. It has different levels also, but there's no permeation into vessels. Ein shinui. So we don't have. I'm sorry. Where did I leave off? Where's that? Okay. Now, even when it comes to the permeating light, bechinas mamala bechlalu prat ein shinui. This level of permeating in its general sense and its specific sense, even there's no change. The elyon v'tachton shaboy shavin, and its upper and lower are equal. Kimesha cause of ani loy shanisi. I have not changed. Va'ani hu bechinas mamala kayadu. And when you use this term ani, I, referring to Hashem, is actually refers to his permeating light. V'kein masha kosu v'esa shamayim v'esha'aretz ani mole. And so too, when it says the heavens and the earth, I fill them. Heavens are different. Earth is different. I fill them. B'hashvo achas davke. I filled them with a total equality. Mole. Ze gam kein b'chinas oyer pnimi. So this applies even on the permeating light. U'kamaimer leis osar panui minei. As the statement, there is no place which is void of him. Kayadua. The Hainu, what this means to say is Mishum degam bevchinas mamale bo yeridas ha'oir v'hashefa al yedei tzimtzumim davke. Even in the level of mamale, the light comes descending. The light and flow comes and descends. Al yedei tzimtzumim davka, through tzimtzums. Ukayadua degam bevechinas hakav v'chut shenimshach me'atzmus ha'erein soif. And also the thin line and thread that are transmitted from God's the essence, God's essence, which are shenikroim malakul almin, which are called filling all worlds, of the atzilus bria yetzira and asiya, of these bechlal in general. Harayu nimshach al yedei tzimtzumim betchilas ha'atzmus. They become transmitted through a tzimtzum that happens at the beginning of God's essence. V'hu tzimtzum arishin. This is the first tzimtzum. Hanikra mokom panui v'cholol v'reikom, which we called a void place and an empty, hollow place. Derech Eretz, please go to Mami. K'mei shekazuf be'etz chaim. V'kein, as the Arizal says, V'kein b'yiridas hakav lamata b'bchinas igulim v'yosher. And so too, as this kav, this line, descends into the levels of circles and straightnesses, ad shenase b'chinas keser la'ak, until it becomes this crown to Adam Kadmein, which is a lofty level, which is way beyond anything we can deal with. Hu al yedei tzimtzum, that too happened through a tzimtzum. V'kein me Adam Kadmein la'atik yoimin v'arich anpin, and so too the subsequent transmissions to or descents. They also happen through a tzimtzum. V'gamba atzilus atzmoi, even in atzilus itself. Yesh mesech bein keser l'chochma. There's a curtain between the keser over atzilus to chochma, b'chlal, totally. V'hu mashakosuf, and that is what it writes. V'hivdil aparoiches, that he made a dividing curtain. This was in the Mishkan. So that's called a parsa, a curtain, between whatever. So the same thing that the Mishkan was made in that way to hint to show us that there are similarly such concepts as a dividers between different different levels. Kamesha Kasu Bezoyar, as the Zoyar writes, V'kein me avo'im lezo, and so too from avo'im, father and mother. This refers to Chochma and Bina. To Zoh is Zer Anpin, the lower face, which refers to the 6 emotional spheres, from Chesed down to Yesoid. Derech Eretz, go to Mami. Rivka Zelma. Derech Eretz needs to... I'm sorry. Okay. Where did I leave off? And so too from the 6 emotional spheres, which represent the male side, lenukva, to the female side, malchus, kayadua. Umi malchus, and all that was within the world of Atzilus. Umi malchus da Atzilus lebria yesh mesech. And from Malchus of Atzilus down to the next lower world of Bria, there is a curtain. The Hamalchus boikeya hamesech, and Malchus itself breaks through that curtain, v'nase keser lebria, and then becomes the crown to Bria. Similarly, this whole same process goes down to the next lowest world too, from Bria to Yetzira. Umalchus de Bria boikea mesech v'nase keser liyetzira, and Malchus, the lowest part of the world of Bria, then breaks through the next curtain and becomes the crown to the next lower world of Yetzira. V'kein Malchus the Yetzira boikea mesech v'nase keser. V'nase, where did I leave off? 1 second. V'nase keser la'asiya. It becomes a crown to the next lower world of Asiya. Ad Malchus the Asiya, until we get all the way down to the Malchus of the lowest world, Asiya, Shenikra, which that is called Hamelech HaMeroimam Levadoi, which is the king who is exalted alone, which we say in davening. K'maimer Rizal, like the saying of our sages, Kivriya Soishal Oilam, like the creation of the world, Bereisha Hashoicha v'Hadar Nahira. Initially there was darkness, and later there was light. Decay,
Doesn't
yeah.
doesn't Mazal? I learned this word yesterday. Mazal means like it's a deal, like good fortune, right?
But yeah,
Where did we have the word mazel?
I think Mazal when you're referring to the sages,
Oh, Masha Razal is the Rosh Tevis, or abbreviation for
Razal.
Rabbi Seinu Zichroinam Livracha,
Okay.
our rabbis of blessed memory.
Blessed memory. So the blessed memory is where the good fortune comes from.
Zichroinam Livracha, Mazal. Okay, I mean it's
Is that
that's
right?
not. I don't think there's an it may be a coincidental connection there. Okay,
Okay. All right.
it's not etymologically. That one is a abbreviation, and mazel itself is a word. It's okay. It's something else.
Okay. Mazel, like Mazel Tov, is different
Yeah.
than. Is it the same as Mazel, like when you close a deal?
Yeah, I mean, mazel is good fortune or whatever. Yeah,
Okay.
but it's got
Same word. Okay.
it doesn't have to do with Kemaima Razal, like the saying of our sages. This is entirely
Razal.
different.
Okay. All right. All right.
Razal is Rabbi Seinu Zichroinim Livracha.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. First darkness, then light. V'kein masham Razal, and so too what the sages say. B'tchila ola b'machshava livroi b'midas adin. Initially, God, it arose in God's thought to create the world with judgment. Shehu b'chinas hatzimtzum, d'shem Elokim shebemalchus de'asiyah, which is the level of tzimtzum of the name Elokim, which withholds, that is in Malchus of Asiya, the lowest level of Malchus in the lowest world. K'mei shekasu, as it's written, Bereshis bara Elokim, in the beginning God created. Who created? God, as he comes through the name Elokim, which is this level of Malchus. B'chuchmasa, with wisdom, bekadmin, initially, Rotzein v'chachma de Malchus de Asiya, on all these levels. Okay, v'daila mavin, and this should suffice for the understanding. So now the Mittler Rebbe kind of takes everything we said and wraps it up to come back to answer the question. Valpizes, so according to this, Yeturatz Hakol. Everything is resolved. That what it writes, that I, God, have not changed, between a will of kindness and a will of judgment in every world, the Atzilus Bria Yetzira Asiya, Hainu Kimeshahu Koidem Atzimtzum. That statement, I've not changed, applies prior to the Tzimtzum. Umesech Shebokeya Boi Vinase Keser La'olam Atachte. And that curtain through which he broke through and became crowned to the lower world. Valzeh Omar, and regarding that it says, Yehi Rotzin Milfanecho Daika. May it be the will above you, for before you, meaning higher than the I guess this level of Keser. The kol bechinas maila umata sheba'olam, and all levels of up and down in the world, in this world, shovin, they're equal. Aval acher, so this is prior to the tzimtzum. When we say milfanecho, we mean prior to the tzimtzum. Aval acher tzimtzum nimshach harotzin b'chachma, the will comes into Chachma, Umidos, Bishinuyim, into the lower spheres of wisdom and attribute and emotions with differences. Ad Malchus de Asiya, down to this lowest level of Malchus of Asiya. Oimrim, here we say, we want that there should be a change. Le'inyan Asiya b'poil mamish, the way things happen down here in actuality, midin lechesed, from judgment to kindness. Ukahai gavna, and similarly, v'dai lemevin, and suffice this for the understanding. So basically, what the Mittler Rebbe did here is he said, when we say that God doesn't change, we mean it. Okay? But we want, when we're asking for, things haven't been going so well, we want them to go different. We're not asking that God before that stuff before the tzimtzum should change. We're asking them for after the tzimtzum, the results should change. God always wants to do good. Okay, so this is the basic idea here. So now let's go to the Rebbe's discussion of what the Mittler Rebbe said here. Yeah.
Would you say it's a misnomer to say that God always does good?
No, I would not say it's a misnomer.
Okay.
So it's that we've sometimes
Perceive
frequently
that something is bad.
Frequently thing in one sense things may have immediate consequences that appear not good to us, but it can be for something that will ultimately be much better. And there's the famous story of Rabbi Akiva, and another story of Nachum Ish Gamzu, which I think maybe next year, if you want, I'll go into those, and we don't have time for them today, but basically those there are two stories about how one said whatever God does is for the good, and the other said what God is doing is good, is actually good right now. This whatever is happening is actually good right now. And it became proven in their experiences. Okay, so we can talk about that next time. Okay, so here in the Rebbe's Maamar, he's now going to explain what the previous Rebbe said and bring what we learned now from the Mittler Rebbe. So the Frierdiker Rebbe continues in his Maamar explaining this idea that since he is the true infinite one, and consequently he cannot have any descriptions or limitations. You can't put him in a box. Al kein mukhrach loymar. Therefore, it must be sheyesh eir hagvul. One second, I think I have to do eir hagvul. Okay, so I have to go to the next page, but I have to go to the other side.
The previous one.
The eir habligvul. There has to be limited light and unlimited light.
What we're explaining now is the previous Rebbe.
Where everything is to explain the previous Rebbe's mind.
Right.
Okay, so I first went to what the Rebbe is going to quote. Okay. Hainu bechinas eira noisein mokum lemetzios, meaning the light which gives room for existence. V'gam oir kazeh, and also such light, shehu begilui, which when it is revealed, ein noisein makom la'olamos, it does not give room for worlds. So this is what the Frierdiker Rebbe brings from the Sefer Avodas HaKodesh, that the infinite light is the perfection, the total of everything, the wholeness, of everything. And just as he has power in the infinite, so too he has power in the finite. If this were not the case, if you were saying it wasn't true, then you would be making limitations on Hashem. You would be saying, oh, Hashem is lacking the ability to be finite. He's too infinite to deal with stuff. That would be incorrect. The afal became, nonetheless, there was no space for the worlds. Because when the infinite light is in a state of revelation, the finite light cannot be perceived. Even though it's true that there is the finite light, but still it's not perceived. And the only thing that is perceived in that state was the infinite light. And therefore there was no space, no room for an existence of universes or worlds. Kanal me'etz chaim, like what the Arizal said. That's why there had to be a tzimtzum. And in a way that he contracted his light totally. And therefore, it became called a place that a void, empty place. That in relative to the light that was previously in the state of revelation, the space became empty and void of it. And then afterwards, he transmitted in a short, thin line, from which there came about the creation and existence of worlds. And with this, we resolve the question of I, Hashem, have not changed. And so too, as is going to be brought later in this mimer, you are he before the world was created, and you are he after the world was created. It would seem that there is a big change. So you had the tzimtzum, and then the creation of the worlds, all the way, as explained, brought earlier in the mimer, lamata mata adein tachlis, all the way down to low, down with no end. And as the Mittler Rebbe explains at length in Shara Yichud, we did one part of it. There are two more parts to that I'm not going to do now. First glance, how can you say, well, there's no change? I've not changed. For when you have a change, even down in the lowest level of Malchus of Asiya, Hare Malchus or Malchus Kol Olamim. God's Malchus is the malchus of all worlds. Shemalchuscha shelifnei atzimtzum zeu malchus kol olamim. His malchus, as it is before the tzimtzum, is the same malchus of all worlds. Gam olam hachi tachton, even of the lowest world. V'im kein ksheyesh shinui b'malchus de'asiyah. So consequently, if there is a change in malchus of asiyah, harei gufa poel shinui lechayra b'malchuscha. That itself should affect a change, seemingly, in your malchus before the tzimtzum. The eich oimrim. So how can we say ani avaya lo shanisi? I, God, have not changed. Umetaretz, and he resolves this to mikivon she'anu oimrim shahaya tzimtzum. Since we say that there was a tzimtzum, asher bezesh shoylelim anu esa inyan de'ilah v'olu. By making that statement, we are negating that the way everything happened was through cause and effect. Lochein ein ze poel shinui. Therefore, what's happening is not affecting a change. Dehine be'ilah v'olul harei olul hu mimahusa ilah. Because when it comes to, actually, do I have a tool here that I can use as a highlighter?
Well,
I wonder if there.
on the left.
I'm wondering if in Acrobat there is.